Hey everybody, Devin and My Three here. We're back again, the co-founders of People Heart Planet, and we're so excited to welcome you to our third episode of People Heart Planet's Heart to Heart interviews. In today's episode, we talk with fellow conscious consumer Allison Carroll. Allison is a content creator, photographer, and blogger, and she has more than 20,000 followers on Instagram. She's worked with over 100 ethical brands and companies on branding, social media marketing, and photography, and her eponymous blog, AllisonCarroll.com, that's Allison with two L's, is an amazing source of information for all things sustainable lifestyle, including conscious travel, eco-fashion, and veganism. Allison is originally from Scottsdale, Arizona, but now lives in Seal Beach, California, where she can be found walking the Pier Beach and taking in a sunset. If you don't already know, People Heart Planet is a shopping platform that makes it easy to discover and buy fair trade and sustainable clothing, fashion, accessories, home goods, and more. All of the products on People Heart Planet are ethical, so no more hours spent researching, scouring information online, and guessing which brands are better for people on the planet. We make it easy to shop fair trade and sustainable brands. Our heart-to-heart interviews are just one of the ways we're adding inspiration to your ethical consumer journey. For more encouragement, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at People Heart Planet. So now let's jump in and hear from Allison.
I was asking you about your journey, to becoming someone who cares so deeply about sustainability and veganism. When did you start living a vegan lifestyle, and why?
So I mentioned this kind of previously in our Zoom call, but I actually originally went vegetarian out of spite. My brother and his friends, back when I was 15, they actually decided for fun they were going to blow up like little goldfish and critters in the backyard with explosives. And I was like, oh my God, like freaking out, just like, it was just way too much. And so I was like, F you guys, like I'm going vegetarian. And they're like, no, you're not, like, you're never going to do it. I'm like, I'll show you. That was 7 years. So that was pretty crazy. I never wanted to go vegan. I thought vegans were crazy. Like I was such a fashionista. I still consider myself a fashionista, but I had the Jeffrey Campbell's and then Rebecca Minkoff's, like all those like leather brands. Like I loved them. I never want to give them up. And then I had a vegan roommate who moved in. She was a random that was put in to live with us over the summer. And a month later, here I am. We watched all the documentaries, and I was like, oh God, like this girl, like she's gonna push me over the edge. Like once you see things, it's hard to unsee them. And so, yeah, that was essentially what happened. But at the time, I was in design school in college, and I was really interested in learning about like sustainable manufacturing. And I had been majoring in industrial design and design management. So I really wanted to do like sustainable shoe design and manufacturing and sustainable production. And so I actually ended up getting a minor in sustainability. So I ended up learning a little bit more about that. But yeah, I think it just all like snowballed from there. And just like little by little, I started learning more, and here I am today. And it has been quite a journey, but yeah.
That's awesome.
That's about it.
One person can make a difference on every level.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I
sure.
feel like it's always over a period of time that this transition happens. Nobody ever becomes vegan overnight, because I've tried it myself and it's really hard. Because I think systems around you need to change as well. Like when you go to a restaurant, you don't have any vegan options. You can be vegan, but you won't eat anything. So I think, systems around you need to change massively as well.
Unless your brother's blowing a fish in the backyard, then you become vegetarian overnight.
Yeah, I know. And
I love
they
that
always
story.
like my husband now is like, oh God, like I blame Nathan, like my brother, for like, being vegan. Like he didn't do that one time. And I'm like, that was the seed that was planted.
Yeah.
But that wasn't necessarily it was just the beginning. I probably would have gotten to this at some point or another. But that was just what made it start and happen.
Yeah, there's a reason it resonated for you, and not just like, oh, that's weird, and laughter. Oh, cool. It resonated.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
your blog is all about sustainability. You're, kind of an expert on this, really. I think people really look to you as a great place to get information and sort of help lead this movement. So what does living a sustainable lifestyle really mean to you?
So for me, I mean, I've adopted it, you know, again, like we just talked about, like it's a journey. It's not just like it happens overnight. Um, and I've really tried to implement like small steps, like just like little things like, oh, a little swap here, a little swap here. And over time, it really makes a big change. So definitely like, you know, reusables. Um, like I have implemented so many reusables into my life. Like I have, instead of tissues, I literally have reusable hankies that I literally blow my nose in. Technically it's reusable toilet paper, but I'm not quite there yet. That I don't know about that. But I do use it for tissues and hankies and stuff. I started buying like glass water bottles, and I make like seltzers and special drinks because my husband really likes like soda, and it helps keep us off like all the additional waste. I used to, I'm bad about this. I used to collect compost scraps, and I would drop them off at the local university because they took compost. But when we moved, we no longer had recycling. So to collect recycling and compost, it was like, oh my God, our kitchen is turning into a dumpster fire. But I did recently connect with a neighbor over a Facebook group. She just lives down the street and she's starting a local compost. So
awesome.
Hopefully soon I'll be able to drop off some stuff at her place. We met up for coffee and she was great. So just like finding like little things here and there. Definitely reusing is huge. Rewearing, any sort of thing that you feel like you want to like get rid of or something new, like just try to rethink it. And it's been very difficult for me. This was the first year I went to Coachella and I did not go shopping and buy stuff for the festival, which, well, not entirely. I did have to buy like some shoes and like a couple pairs of glasses and stuff. But I mean, outfit wise, like I tried really hard to like go with stuff I already used or already had. So I don't know. Yeah, when you want something new, try to find it secondhand. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And use the resources that you have too. Like I joined a local Facebook Buy Nothing group, and I get so much of my stuff off of there now. Like I got this shirt off of there for free. I got my bike off of there for free. I got food, like clothing. Like there's so many things that like neighbors and locals, like just like you and me, that just don't have use for something anymore. Maybe it's the wrong size, or you know, maybe their kids didn't like it. Like whatever, you know, use the resources that you have so stuff doesn't end up in the trash.
I
think
love
that's
Buy
a
Nothing.
huge point. It's incredible. It's literally like changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Singapore and I live in a condo with 800 odd units, and I have bought almost all of my kids' toys secondhand. I hardly bought
amazing.
them anything new, especially, you know, for birthdays, I try and buy them something new, but otherwise, you know, it's all like books, you know, they literally use it for a few months and then they've, you know, outgrown it. So I think toys and books for kids, and of course clothing, you know, they're fantastic to buy secondhand.
Agreed. Yes.
So, I mean, you work with so many ethical brands and organizations. What sort of things have you collaborated on, and are there any campaigns that you especially liked working on?
So I mostly collaborate with brands via like sponsored posts on Instagram and creating branded content for them to use on like their social platforms or for their websites or just kind of for their marketing materials. I don't know if this is really like inspirational, but it's something I really enjoyed working on. When my husband and I were traveling, we worked with a sustainable glamping business in Peru. And they worked with like indigenous cultures, and they had different families that we went to. And it was just like a very slow, sustainable travel experience that I just really enjoyed. So that one was one of them. It's called Kiss Bouquet Glamping. I can, I'll tag it in one of the comments.
Cool.
And then we did another one with Hacienda Jimenita in Ecuador, and that was also a sustainable, almost like it wasn't a homestead, but it was a big nature preserve that they also had like lodging on. So it was all family run. It was very sustainable. It made my heart just like so happy being able to support them and work on content for them. And we pretty much got that whole trip comped, aside from our flights, just by providing them with content and materials for their website and everything. So that was really cool. Another couple that I really enjoyed was I worked with Poshmark a couple times. And part of the reason I enjoyed this wasn't necessarily because it was the content I created or our collaboration together, but just because I love Poshmark so much. Like I get, if I'm buying anything new, I immediately go to Poshmark. I check Poshmark like a shop, like the sustainable shopaholic that I am, which I need to like tone back on. I check Poshmark at least 5 times a day. Like it's just, I just do, because I'm also selling stuff on there. Also, I really liked Kushu. They're a plastic-free hair accessories brand. They asked me to do like some hair tutorial videos for them. I thought that was super fun. It wasn't like, oh, you know, do this sponsored post for me like a lot of brands are. It was like, hey, like we'd love you for, you know, to do something like fun and show us how you use your products. And, you know, they had it on their website too, which I thought was pretty cool.
I've noticed your hairstyling in some of your Instagram posts as well and commented on it. It looks super cute.
Oh, thank you.
That's how Maitri found you, actually. She was like, oh, you have to check out this. We have to follow her. Like, all your stuff is just, I mean, we love all of the educational stuff, obviously, around like how to live more sustainable lifestyles, how to be a better consumer, all that. That's fantastic. But with you, it's sort of like, oh, this is really fun, too. Like the fashion, the look, like the way you put colors together. Like, oh, it's just, I mean, you can tell that your background is design. It's,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes I struggle with feeling like I have a niche because I feel like so many sustainability bloggers, it's like zero waste, like, you know, no makeup, very granola. Like, not, I love that, but like, that's not me. But then I'm also super into fashion, but it's like, okay, well, what people who are into fashion are really talking about vegan fashion and sustainable fashion. And like, I also kind of like a retro, like fun and funky side to me. So like, I feel like I kind of overlap in a few different categories that it's hard to find like my people, you know, but the people that do find me, they're like, oh wow, like this is cool. So
no, we get where you're coming from.
Definitely unique in your look. So yeah, you caught my attention.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of vegans, they post, it's literally just like food content. And I have a food page. Like, don't get me wrong, I love posting about food. I love talking about food, but like I have so many other, you know, things that I'm interested in besides food. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
No, and I think just keep doing what you're doing. We feel your pain on this because people have said to us, you know, because there are other shopping platforms like ours. When we had the idea, we figured, okay, others are going to come up like this because people want to make it easier to buy from these brands. We want it to be easier for us to buy from these brands. So we're like, okay, let's just make this because if we're the only one to shop from it, at least it's easier. And like from the marketing folks, you know, we're sort of like, oh, you need to define yourself. Who's your target market? You know, are you going to have women between this age and this style and this sort of thing? Like you were saying, what's your niche? And we're just like, you know, we're not going to worry about that. I know that's if you're going to think just about marketing, that's the way to go. But you kind of just have to be yourself. And we're like, we're just going to put it out there.
Your people will come to you.
Exactly. No.
About giving as much information as possible to the ethical consumer, people who want to buy sustainable fair trade brands, and we just give you all the information and you decide, you know, what you want to buy.
Yeah.
And you should keep doing what you're doing. I mean, we found it and we're just like, ooh, this is really fun. We just love it. So what you're doing is right. You're on track here. So when did you launch the blog and what inspired you to start blogging? Because obviously, I mean, you do this content creation, you are a photographer, your background is industrial design. Like, where did the blog come from? Obviously, a great way to share.
So originally, I actually had to start my blog. I had to start a website portfolio in design school. Like, that was our senior project, was we had to create an online portfolio. And I was like, you know what, like, I just want it to be my name because I know it's going to transition long term. So I just made it AllisonCarroll.com way back when. And then as I kind of stepped out of like the design world and was doing more, got more into fashion, like sustainable fashion and veganism and blogging, and I kind of transitioned the portfolio side to more just be like, this is the blog. And then I now have a separate website that has more my business stuff. So
cool.
Really, that was I just kind of kept the name neutral, and it's kind of just transitioned from there.
I love how organic that is. Super awesome.
Yeah.
I know you've worked with a lot of fantastic ethical brands, and we don't want to ask you, you know, which one's your favorite, but are there any that really stood out for you for something really innovative that they were doing?
Yeah, so there's a few that I honestly just like, I just love so much. So a few years ago, Unspun Denim reached out to me, and their whole thing is like zero waste manufacturing. So they pretty much sent me to this full body scan place. They found like a local location. We're like, oh, go here and get your body scan. So I literally showed up in this activewear outfit and was getting my body scanned to get my exact measurements. They sent them in to Unspun, and then they sent me a pair of jeans with all my exact measurements.
Oh
So
my
I thought that
God.
was so cool. I don't know how sustainable it is as far as like a longevity business, but I thought the concept was incredible because, you know, they're trying to reduce overconsumption. They're trying to make things true to size, and really just like make a piece that is worth, you know, having forever. So I thought that was so cool. That was one of them. Another one, I just feel like they're doing what every swimwear brand should be doing. So it's called Do Good Swimwear or Do Good Surf Club, whichever. I recently worked with them. I actually wore their swimwear to Coachella. Um, but they're not just like, oh, we're ethically produced or oh, we're recycled materials. They go even beyond that. They're, you know, they offer a recycling program. So hey, oh, your swimsuit's ripped, send it back. Like we'll recycle it into our new product. Oh, you know, working with nonprofits here, like we work with this, we work with this. Everything's all like ethically produced, manufactured. And they also do, my pet peeve is when a sustainable brand sends you PR stuff and it is not in either compostable or sustainable packaging. That is like, I cannot fathom that. Yeah, right. Like, and they are very adamant on like everything is compostable packaging. So I highly recommend them. They're not, again, it's not super innovative. I just think they're doing, in my mind, almost every like check mark that I think when I am trying to look for a brand. Also, I did work with Miyoko's, that vegan dairy brand, a couple years ago. When I worked with them, I like obviously I love them. I use their products every day, but they recently came out with some super innovative products, which I haven't seen any other like vegan food brand really come out with. And I actually used one of them last night. One of them is a vegan liquid mozzarella cheese. It kind of comes in like a milk bottle looking thing. It's odd looking, but oh my God, it's incredible. And it's for me, it's so innovative in like the vegan food space.
Yeah.
And they also recently came out with vegan cottage cheese. I haven't seen it on the shelves yet. I don't know how I feel about vegan cottage cheese, but I like the innovation and I like seeing like where we're going from there. So
Very
Absolutely.
cool.
I eat a lot
yeah,
of vegan foods myself, and the innovation that has come out of the market these days is just incredible. I mean,
yeah, it really is innovative these
yes.
days.
Thing with the denim brand that's so cool. My three's from India. My husband's from India, and they're always talking about how, you know, it's still a common thing to have your clothes just made for you. I mean, that's how the system works
Yeah,
there. And it made me think of that when you're talking about the denim brand. That like I like that we're sort of coming back.
They're not going to produce 50,000 units, you know, like fast fashion brands, but there is a market
yeah,
for it and there's a niche for it. So I think
exactly.
doing
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
you're
they don't
doing,
want
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's not their market. That's not what
Yeah,
they're trying to do. They're trying to innovate and change people's perspective on garments, really.
yeah, it's awesome.
So I really appreciated that.
Yeah. I love all the blogging that you do on travel, I have to say, because I love travel myself. And it's a big challenge, especially for me to travel, you know, very sustainably. I try my best. But what top
Yeah.
tips do you have for someone who's interested in traveling, and wants to travel more sustainably?
So I love that question because I feel like the concept of sustainable travel, people sometimes find to be an oxymoron. But the thing is, we're humans. We want to travel. We want to see the world. We want to explore. It's just a matter of like what are the lengths you are going to go to make it eco-friendly is really where it's at. And so one of my favorite things, obviously this isn't for everybody, but I downloaded the Happy Cow app.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are
Yes,
familiar with
I
it, but it lets you find, it's amazing. Yeah, it gives you vegan and plant-based options all around the
yes.
world. I have found such incredible places through Happy Cow, places I would never even stopped at before. So just by eating like vegan meals, like you're already reducing your carbon footprint, which I feel like is kind of a huge, win when you're flying someplace. You're like, oh, okay, eat a vegan meal. Okay, like I feel better. For me, obviously, all my foods now is vegan. So, but if you're not, I think that is a good way. Bringing reusables with you. I bring bags. I bring utensils. I bring those little. They're actually camping like pop-up containers.
Oh, yeah.
They're silicone, so they're very like light to travel with, and they're BPA free. They're obviously not like glass or metal or anything, but traveling with glass just gets so heavy, and metal you can't reheat very easily. So that's what I really like to travel with. Like I said, like my reusable like hankies and like random other like bags. I love stasher bags. I always bring a bunch of those with me. Grocery and market totes. I always bring those. A big one is like use public transit and like try to get outdoorsy. Like try to take the outdoorsy way to get places if possible. I know that often comes with time restriction, because traveling slow is obviously the most sustainable way, but it's not always super viable. But if you have the option, like travel slow, take the scenic route, use public transport, bike, walk, stuff like that, I feel like is often overlooked. And like I said, it's not always viable for every traveler, but I do think that that is a good way to kind of start with things. Also, look for lodging and accommodations and experiences that like really talk about sustainable initiatives. If they're not super upfront and transparent about stuff like that on their website, they're probably not doing much. So just look for kind of like key things here and there, giving back to nonprofits, or, a big red flag is researching, when you're researching tours and activities that are around animal tourism. So as a vegan, like I love animals. Like I love those animal experiences. Like I'm very drawn to that. I think a lot of people are, but anytime someone is profiting off of animal attractions and animal tourism, there's kind of a red flag you have to set off in your mind. Like, okay, how are they making this profitable for them? How does this work for them? We got almost kind of misled when we went to Thailand, actually, because we worked with this hotel, and they had elephants on the property, and elephants could roam free, and it was very like la-di-da, very ethical. And we get there, and like it was like a half truth. So definitely just do your research, but at a certain point you do what you can. Like, you can only research so much, you can only look into things so much. But I think the biggest step is just even being aware of things like that, and to acknowledge that you are trying to do things more sustainably. And I think that's already a huge step.
Yeah, for sure. Were you in Chiang Mai?
I was in Chiang Mai, yes.
It's definitely, so Maitri and I met in Singapore. I lived there for 3 years, and she's still there, obviously.
Okay.
That was definitely one of the things people said when traveling to Thailand, that with the elephants, it's hard to tell which.
It's hard to tell. Yeah, they had this facade online, very ethical. And we get there and like, yeah, okay, some parts were ethical, but there were some things that was like, an elephant is chained and they could only go in like, a 15 to 20 feet diameter because they were acting up, or they would say like, oh, their tusks are growing in. It's like,
Yeah.
Are they? Like, I don't know.
That's why I'm a big fan of getting personal recommendations from people. So like join Facebook groups for sustainable travel, for example, or just, a group of travelers who just like to travel to places that are, kind to animals, if you like that experience. So I think experiences are so important, when you're traveling.
Yeah, and it kind of introduces everybody, but also kids at a young age, to have that love for animals and to like connect. Because reading a storybook and seeing pictures, you can only connect so much. So
yeah, definitely. Well, we've gone over time, so I'm going to jump to the last question, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
So our motto is to love people and love the planet. Love is really our driving force of why we're doing this. It's our bottom line. So do you think love is part of why you advocate for people on the planet, or what is your deep motivation?
I would definitely agree with that statement. So I love nature. I love animals, just being outside. I think one of my biggest motivations is just, I really want it to be preserved for future generations. Like, I think of my kids and my grandkids, like future obviously, but I just want them to be able to have what we had. And my dad even, or my parents, both of them, they even tell me like, well, I wish you had what we had. And I think as the generations go on, like we're just gonna get less and less of that. So I think just preserving it as best we can, and maybe, hopefully, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but being able to actually give them more than what we had. Yeah. As far as like environment and sustainability and stuff. So
for sure. We're hopeful too.
Thanks for listening. For more stories of hope and inspiration, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at People Heart Planet.